and my next car is going to hit 100 miles per gallon. So what we do is we actually build highly efficient, affordable, safe, functional, and fun to drive cars. And we do it with an Agile, Lean, Scrum process. Can you hear me? Is it still on there?
Yeah,
okay, good.
We do hear you. It's
excellent,
good.
Thank you. So the Agile, Lean, Scrum process is not only goes into the manufacturing processes of what we do, but also the way that our team organizes as a collaborative, distributed team around the world. So we're going to talk more about that. Why is it in manufacturing that things take so long to change? If you look at one of these hybrid cars here, it's a 6-year period for it to gain just 2 more miles per gallon in efficiency, and that's its main selling point. So it seems kind of odd, doesn't it? And part of that reason is that the manufacturing process itself is so embedded in just staying the same, that it costs so much to build the tools and the dies and things to do these processes that things just can't change quickly. If an engineer has a brand new radical idea to implement, it could take 10 years or even 25 years to get into the development cycle just to pay for the door that already exists out there, or whatever part that happens to be. And it operates a lot like the old software teams back in the mainframe days. You kind of build this giant software project, it becomes this beast that just goes into a maintenance cycle and it's forever maintained. We operate more like a new software team, an Agile team. And we have an iteration of 7 days. So every 7 days, we look at our current state and we look, what can we do in the next 7 days to move us forward as a whole team, team-wide. And so it allows us to develop and deploy new technologies, new ideas very, very quickly. So how did all this get started? It started when they announced the Progressive Insurance Automotive X Prize, and they put a $10 million purse out there to build a 100 mile per gallon car that could seat 4 people, was comfortable to drive, had all the amenities, and was safe and road legal as well. And nothing like this existed before, but they wanted to see if it could possibly be done. In fact, there were 100 mile per gallon cars at the time, but they weren't really what the consumer market was looking for. They were more like a bobsled. They sat one person, and they really didn't meet what were considered road legal safety standards.
And no cup holders.
No cup holders for sure. So 136 teams joined together, or 136 teams joined the competition to win this $10 million prize. And we were one of those teams, actually centered in the middle of the country at the time in Colorado. And many of these teams were from prestigious institutions, universities such as MIT, or companies as well, such as Tesla, that were competing in this competition. And many of them had millions of dollars in funding behind them. We were not one of those teams. We had Joe Justice, our founder, and he was a single guy building highly lightweight and efficient cars out of his garage. And he heard about the X Prize and looked at his wife and said, well, you know that down payment we'd saved up to buy a house with? What if instead we built a car and entered it in the X Prize? And she looked at him and said, amazingly, Joe, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and if you don't do it, you'll always regret it and wonder what could have been. So they went for it, and the race was on. And so they moved into a smaller apartment, actually, and lived a little bit more economically, and actually put everything in to go for this prize. And Joe got on the internet and started blogging about what he was doing and asking questions, and he had things like just figuring out a parking brake that would actually work well, because parking brakes, typically, they slide against the rotor a little bit, and that's fine with just your normal car that you don't really care too much about its efficiency. But if you're trying to achieve 100 miles per gallon, just having a little bit of friction in the system is a horrible, horrible thing. So he found people that stay up late at night and think about parking brakes, and they came to him and had the ideas and suggestions, and these people exist in the world, and you can reach out to them, and he found them, and they came, collaborated, and then they said, hey, we love what you're doing, we want to actually help out too. And so this group of volunteers formed around the whole group, and it actually grew to be 44 team members in 4 countries, all collaboratively putting input into this, and building a car that competed in 3 months. So really something else. Really, it was a great thing. A lot of heart, a lot of dedication went into the competition, and the other teams around that were seeing what was happening were really impressed with the way that the WIKISPEED team kind of worked together. We had a lot of moving parts and different parameters that were changing on us at the time. So for instance, the race was initially going to be a race in downtown Manhattan on a really tight race course that had turns and stops and starts and sprints and things like that. And that required one kind of configuration of the car. Then it was going to be changed to a cross-country race where it actually stopped in different cities along the thing, and that required a completely different design. And many of the teams had to start over all the way from scratch. We didn't. We actually built a modular design and had something that we could actually modify very quickly and iterate over time. And so that actually led to us being able to move and change with different requirements and judgments that were happening during the X Prize. And eventually the contest was held at Michigan International Speedway. And we did quite well. We actually placed 10th, tied 10th for the X Prize. And we got a lot of great press out of that and a lot of accolades for the effort that we put into it.
That was ahead, by the way, of MIT and Tesla. So.
Was, yes, indeed. And as a result of that, we got invited to the largest auto show in the world in Detroit, Michigan this last January. The Detroit North American International Auto Show, which has 750,000 participants actually walk through the show. So it was a huge venue for us to present our technology. And so we thought, well, we're going to be placed in the basement with the electric cars and the green economy cars, that sort of thing. So no, you're actually going to be on the main showroom floor. So the pressure was on. And we knew that we wanted to have something that was a little bit prettier to look at than our orange car because we had great mechanicals, we were highly efficient, and we wanted something that matched that same technology on the outside. So we designed a really cool looking car. The only problem was to actually make this car a reality using traditional manufacturing techniques. It would cost $36,000 in 3 months' time, and really neither one of those was an option for us. So we had to come up with something new. So we did is we sent Joe Justice, our founder, to composite school. And there he kind of learned the secret black art, magics, and science of laying carbon fibers, and looked at the processes they used for laying carbon fibers and thought of a simpler way to do it. So we used a home-built CNC machine that we bought on Craigslist, actually, at a great discount, too. I'm telling you, this stuff exists out there. It's fantastic. The amazing things the internet can provide you. And with that machine, we took 6-inch blocks of foam and created our car out of foam and then glued all those 6-inch sheets of foam together and had a working buck. And so from that, we actually laid down carbon fiber, structural carbon fiber on top of it. And this process took a total of 3 days and a total cost of $800. So learning ways to do things faster, more efficient, and getting more productivity out of them is what WIKISPEED is really all about. And fortunately, the car looked beautiful. We were placed on the main showroom floor between Ford and Chevy. Quite a prestigious place. And the press was amazing. They came out, we had press coverage from all over the world in all different languages. They said things that we wouldn't have even said about ourselves, but really are at the core of what we do, such as WIKISPEED is a reminder of the true spirit of the Detroit Auto Show. Some companies are still building mind-boggling revolutionary cars because they can. And it really sums up the spirit of what we're doing and why we do it. Then we got a 3-page article in Automobile Magazine, one of the most prestigious and conservative auto magazines out there. And they told our story, Average Joe's Can-Do Car Company, of kind of the history of what we're doing and the vision for our future as well. And that attracted more attention to us and helped our team grow as more people found out about it. Then we got a call from Discovery Channel Canada, and their top-rated show that has 3.5 million viewers a week, Daily Planet, did an expose on us, and it just came out this last October on Halloween. And phenomenal little piece that we have. And then we had press coverage from Wired Magazine, Popular Science, Popular Mechanics, TechCrunch, New York Times Online. There was just a plethora of things that came out. And from all of that, we said, well, we want to take this further. We didn't just do the X Prize to win the prize. We actually want to move forward. We are a licensed manufacturer car company, and we want to build that car for the future and actually make a difference for social good. So right now, this is several weeks ago, this is our new core, our new foam body that's being built in our Maryland shop. And it's a gorgeous body built by Rob Moorbacher. And it's, in reality, it's ready to actually, it's along a little farther than this, and it's a few more weeks before we pull out our first structural carbon fiber body that will look like this. Wow. And so it really changes the game for us. We're having a car that's highly desirable as a commuter vehicle. It's a fun car and a good-looking car to drive around, and we all kind of want one, actually, as soon as possible.
I wanted to add that what's interesting about Rob, who designed the car, is he designed and sent off his CAD to the CNC group Rob lives in Germantown, Maryland, and he had this chance to design a car, and then he goes to the auto show to see it. At that time, he then meets for the first time the rest of the team. So here's a guy operating all the way across the country, very independently and very effectively, but through his association with our group, he's doing things that to him seem amazing. He's just a young man, and to us, they seem amazing as well.
And there's so many stories like that within our group. We have team members in Germany that are doing amazing things in Germany and Spain, and doing electronics in England. We just sent a pedal over to England so that they can actually work with it over there and then send it back to us. So it's pretty amazing having a group that's like this. And how do we do it all? It's really based on modularity. So Joe, our founder, came from the software. He's an Agile Scrum coach, actually, and that's kind of his background. So we think of things in terms of software, even though we're building cars. It's kind of a strange way of doing it. And as such, we borrow ideas from the software world, such as object-oriented programming, modularity, having things that fit together. And that really helps us out in the X Prize, because having a modular design allowed us to change designs to meet different requirements as those became available. But it helps us in the manufacturing process as well. It kind of cordons off different parts of functionality of different cars. So if we change them, they don't actually change the whole car. So our engine module is a box that actually slides into the back of the chassis using just a lift jack. And it can be swapped out in just 10 minutes. It's just, there's 6 structural lug bolts that hold it in place, which are like the same lug bolts that hold a tire onto the car. That engine that's within it happens to be a 1.8 liter Honda gasoline engine right now. And that's how we achieve that 100 mile per hour rating. We use gasoline, we just use a lot less of it. We can swap that out with a hybrid engine. We can swap it out with a lithium ion battery engine. We can swap it out with an ethanol, a methanol, a propane, a green jello block that melts slowly in the sun. Whatever the latest technology is that moves us forward efficiently, we will implement that technology. And that's one of the ways that we think and the ways that we can operate. So that modularity, just kind of looking at it as a cutaway, you can see the different components and parts of the car here. And on the front of the car is this front crush structure, so what people call a bumper. And our first version of that was actually this complex design, and it really did a good job of absorbing the impact, but it was difficult to manufacture, took a lot of time, that sort of thing. So we said, well, how can we simplify this and maybe even increase its usefulness? So we iterated through it. We're on our 4th iteration of that design right now, and it's actually been simplified. It's geometrically simpler. It's actually much more effective at absorbing crashes, and it costs less to manufacture. So going through an iterative process and not thinking, well, this is the only way to do it, is just how we do things. So just look and see how we can change things along the way. Safety, of course, is one of our big concerns, and one of the ways we achieve the efficiencies that we do is by having a very, very lightweight car. It only weighs 1,400 pounds. So a lot of people say, well, light car, that can't be safe. There's no way. We've actually produced the lightest chassis in the world to achieve a 5-star crash test rating equivalency. And that's the first time that's ever been done. And the way we do it is thinking a lot differently than the mainstream way of thinking about how to absorb crashes. We have an integrated chassis body that as it's impacted from any side, the whole chassis absorbs the shock of that impact. So it's distributed across the entire chassis. And that allows us to have a much lighter design. It's essentially like having 2 I-beams that are then welded with big crossbars across it driving down the street. And so you're kind of just surrounded and enclosed within this cage that protects the occupants within. So what are the methodologies we do to use all this? We use Lean, we use Agile, we use Scrum, Kanban boards, object-oriented programming, pairing and extreme programming, and even test-driven design. These are kind of our core parts of our culture, just the way we think about things. Neither one of us are actually Lean, Scrum, or Agile experts. We just know it experientially from being on the team more than anything else. And it's just the way that we live and think about things. Just examples of how we do this. In Lean, we just use less stuff. And this is a lot of our team members, and one of our core principles is just having a smaller impact on the environment. If we use less stuff, it's actually just good for the environment. And what's the point of doing all this if we're not doing it for the good of the environment? By using less stuff also, it's more efficient. It actually costs less, so we can do things more cheaply, and in the end, sell more affordable cars. So by using less stuff, we just gain huge benefits and really no downsides, as long as we're maintaining all of our goals for safety and efficiency and those things. And I guess this picture here, what we're actually looking at is one of our team members, Rob Huggins, who's actually using an $89 bandsaw, so a pretty cheap piece of technology, to actually cut and build our chassis. Now what he's replacing is a machine in traditional automotive manufacturing that's over $100 million machine. So this process, we aren't locked into exactly how it's done. If we change our methodologies, or if we even scale up our methodologies, we can invest in more equipment. But right now, this is the minimum requirement to get the job done that we need done. We're agile and able to make changes very quickly on the fly, and we don't shy away from change. We actually embrace it and look forward to it and plan for it as well. So every week, we get our current state of where our car is, where our whole project is, and what are the things we need to do next. And making those changes very quickly is just part of our culture. We set up our physical workspaces in a modular, agile way as well. So we have a number of shops around the country and are soon expanding around the world. And there's actually 2 here in Seattle, in Linwood and in Everett. And we set them up in a way that we have shelving that has clear bins in it. And those bins are labeled with the things that go within them. So for instance, there's a whole power tool section that has our sanders in one, our drills in another, our saws in another. Next to those are hand tools that have our hammers, our wrenches, our sockets, our screwdrivers. And they're kind of laid out so similar things are next to similar things. When you're a brand new team member, you come to the shop, you're given a quick tour of the shop and you kind of see things how they're laid out. And let's say that night, your job is to unbolt the front crush structure. Well, you kind of know how to do it. You'd go over to the section of tools, you'd see the hand tools, you'd find the right sockets. You'd go over and you'd have 2 sockets and you could quickly unbolt that, and you'd actually be moving the team forward very quickly without having a lot of experience and knowledge or training. You can start contributing. And you'd, of course, be paired with somebody else that was making sure that you're doing the work correctly, and we're having a good time doing it as well. So the socialization of it. We have collaborative work areas because it's good to do. We don't want to be locked inside of cubicles or offices where we work in isolation. Our whole culture is working together as a team and getting momentum off just the energy of each other, of moving stuff forward. And so those collaborative work environments are a big part of what we do. Sometimes we have people that are just working out of their houses, maybe our web designers or something, they're doing it, but they're collaborating online with other parts of our team as well. So collaborative work areas physically and also virtually. We also use Scrum. So Scrum gives us a number of different concepts that play well into the way that we're organized and the way that we do business. But just having specific roles and responsibilities. Everybody comes to the team with certain skill sets and certain desires, but they don't have to necessarily just stay within those skills that they have. So say that somebody comes that doesn't have any automotive experience at all, but they want to be in the shop, they want to learn how to do things. And this is kind of, I'm not that much of a car guy, but I really like cars a lot, and so I wanted to learn a lot from them. So since I've been working in the shop, I'm actually visiting from Las Vegas. I've been here in Seattle for 2 weeks just helping out the shop, and I've done so many things, learned so many things. I've helped pull out the engine, I've helped weld on the chassis, I've helped do all kinds of crazy cool things that I've never had the opportunity to do before, and it's been so exciting to do, and just learned so much. It's been just a fantastic experience. So those roles and responsibilities can shift, and you can take on, we're a completely volunteer organization, so you can take on new tasks that interest and excite you, and learn new skills along the way. So we've had people learn very valuable TIG welding skills. One of our team members here, Kurt Roy, has become an expert aluminum TIG welder just by being part of our team and using things like pairing with other people and using YouTube videos of best practices. So it's been quite fun for him to do that. Another part of our culture is our weekly stand-up meeting. So every Thursday night tonight at 6 p.m., we have a worldwide team meeting call where everybody calls in and it gives a 1-minute summary of what they've done. So what have they accomplished in the last week, what they intend to accomplish in the coming week, and what blocks they see to that. And so everybody goes through their stand-up, and at the end of the stand-up, we gather together all the roadblocks at the end, and whoever can has ideas of how to unblock those things. They pitch in and do it. And maybe it's pitching in a hand to help somebody out, maybe it's finding new resources or applying new technologies, whatever that happens to be. Out of that meeting, we also get our backlog items. So those backlog items go right to our Kanban board, and they actually prioritize, okay, what is it to be accomplished this week? What's our highest priorities to move us forward? And those things forward may be things about building on the car, but it could also be our online strategy of actually building our website so that people come there, they have great content, or pushing out our YouTube videos around the world. So there's a lot of different things that we have going on within our organization more than just building cars. I mentioned the Kanban board, and they actually exist in all of our facilities. You'll see here in the back of the room, they're standing on the form here, but in the back is a whiteboard with sticky notes on it and 4 columns. The left one says the backlog, the next one over says in progress, and I'm sure there's a sticky note there that says sand the car body. And the next one over says waiting to be verified, and then the last one is done, completed work actually. So those Kanban boards give us a physical way of actually looking and seeing how things are organized in that space. But the Kanban board is also digitally displayed as well. So we actually take those Post-it notes and put them into Scrummy software so that our whole team can see the entire project, everybody's effort in all of our shops and all of our locations, what is actually happening and where it's all going. Without having a lot of meetings, without having a lot of documentation, without having a lot of justification for what you're doing, everybody's moving the project forward at some level and creating great velocity in doing that. So,
good point, Tom. And it's so important when you have an all-volunteer group because you don't really know who's going to show up in any particular time, and it's very dynamic. And so they need a central place where they can find the next important task and get an idea of how the workflow is going. Otherwise, it just wouldn't work.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and it's really fun to be a part of.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. That's the main thing.
The Kanban board also gives us a way of just kind of visualizing everything that's going on. There's so many parts and pieces that by having that, it gives us a snapshot. We can look down and we can see in a simple way without a whole lot of words what's actually going on. A lot of times we can get bogged down in emails and that sort of thing, but having the Kanban board just gives a simple way to visualize everything that's going on. We also use a lot of concepts from object-oriented programming. So I mentioned the modularity of the car and how things kind of just fit together. We encapsulate functionality the same way you encapsulate functionality in software. We encapsulate functionality in modules. So this is a display of our suspension modules. And what these are Stump 2 Racing McPherson strut suspension systems that have been bolted onto 6061 T6 aluminum plates that are 1/4 inch thick. Those 1/4 inch thick plates have bolt holes in them. Those bolt holes match up with bolt holes on our actual chassis. Those bolt holes represent our interface. Just like you have an interface in software programming, this is our interface in a contract about those bolt holes being on both pieces so that when you get them there, you can actually put structural lug nuts through them and bolt them on. Now on the plates, we can actually put whatever thing we want on there. So if we wanted to put a double wishbone suspension system on instead, we could apply that to the plate the same way, no problem. If we want to put tank treads on there, we could do that. If we want to put boat pontoons or airplane wings on there, we could do that as well. Whatever goal we're trying to accomplish, we can just put them onto that module, and it doesn't affect any other modules in the system.
I want articulated robotic legs.
There you go. Articulated robotic. I hadn't even thought of that before. We use extreme programming, so pairing together, and I mentioned this, just we get a lot of velocity when we actually work together as a group. So here we have 2 of our volunteers who are actually very proficient at building engines, but by working together, they learn a bit more. So they learn some of the nuances from each other. They check each other's work just to make sure that nothing gets left out and forgotten. And it's a way of passing knowledge amongst the team without having to document it all, without having to do that. So it's just a way that we gain a lot of velocity. Sometimes we have a more senior member paired with a more junior member so that they can learn things. And maybe that pairing will be the same 2 people, but reversed because they have different skills in another area. We also swarm. So if we have a particular vexing block on our system, so we have something that's just holding us back from moving forward, we may apply 8 people in one night to go, okay, we're going to wipe this one out, get it out. So say it's the wiring, there's a short in the wiring harness, and nobody wants to deal with the wiring harness. So if we actually put 8 people in the wiring harness, everybody kind of takes it and searches out and finds the thing. We get it out of the way, done, put it behind us, and we move on to the next thing. So it's a way to kind of quickly get those things moving forward and gaining velocity. Everything we do is test-driven, so we actually develop a test before we do it. This is a crash test. This is kind of an obvious example that we want to pass this crash test before we can do anything else. But there's also tests on more simple tasks. So this last week, one of my tasks was installing the seats and seat covers that you saw on the car today. So to do that, we first developed a test. We had to actually weld in the bars at the bottom that are bolted into, and those had to be welded in such a way that they're the correct distance from the steering module. They also had to be strong enough to withstand any crashes or any deformation. They also had to be put in there in a way that they interact with the seatbelt harnesses as well to make sure those all work together. So those are all of our tests. once they're installed, we kind of checked off and saw that each one of those was tested, and we could have success. Without the test, we couldn't have the success. By having success, it actually builds excitement that we got something accomplished, and it builds morale and just velocity for a whole team. And that's just a huge thing. We'll actually take a video of that, put it out to our team, say, hey, here's what it accomplished this week in the shop, and we do that on a weekly basis. So how do we do it? Having such a widely distributed team, all over different people doing different things, we use a lot of these tools. And these are from companies that didn't really even exist 10 years ago, and many of these things weren't available even 5 years ago. So the way that we do this is really kind of a new technology, something that hasn't been seen in the industry before. By having collaborative tools that allow us to share ideas and do this in this way, it's just creates the ability to do this in such a distributed fashion, actually. It's kind of amazing what we accomplish on a weekly basis. And being part of this team, it's as much learning about the technologies and how to function as a team like this than it is about building cars. So it's the education that you get from it is quite amazing. So what are we doing next? Next, we are actually we're building cars and selling cars to the world now. And our cars look very sleek, very cool, and they are, and we also want them to be affordable. So you can actually purchase our cars for $25,000, which is much less than a Tesla, actually. And get great efficiency from them. And we just want to spread that out to the world. And so we're going to change gears here a little bit, and Rob Beresford is going to take over and just show how being part of WIKISPEED is there's definitely an education in there, and every member of the team they get out of it what they put into it. And people may spend just 2 hours a week on it. People may take a few weeks or a few months off from the team and then come back to us. But whatever it is that they do, whatever efforts put in, I find that it comes back in spades just through learning and through just the excitement that we build around it. So,
thanks, Tom.
You bet.